Good morning, everybody. We've now reached our second session of the day. We've lost a little bit of time, so it's going to be a slightly shorter session. This particular session is actually a discussion session where everybody gets to take part. That includes people online as well as the people in the venue. So brace yourselves for an interaction. I will be coming to you. I will track you down. I will find you. I'm joking. So Prof. Paulo Melariri just gave us an idea, which would be quite nice, just simply to because it's a fairly small group, even online, is just to get an idea of who you are and where are you studying. In other words, which department are you studying in or through? So if we can, without further ado, I'm from the Department of Nursing Science, Dr. Morton, and you've met Prof. Melariri, you've met Ms. Tembeka Sajanane, and Ms. Safikli. So now you're going to introduce yourselves, okay? Don't worry, it's quite painless.
Okay, thank you. My name is Zenande Padley, and I am enrolling for a PhD in General Health Sciences, which is with pharmacy. And my supervisors are Dr. Mufamad and Dr. Napuza. So yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aidan Batterson, and I'm a postdoc research associate under the DSI Nanomedicine platform.
Good morning, everyone. I am Yolanda Mbalenhle Mngongo, first-time Masters in Environmental Health and Nanomedicine, also supervised by Dr. Mfamadi and Mr. Vuta.
Thank you.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. I am Wendy Rauman and a first-year student doing IMCA nursing.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kanye Somachaya. I'm enrolled in the Department of Nursing Science, IMCA also.
Good morning, everyone. Tapelo Makhoba, doing my master's in dietetics and nutrition.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Muveshni Dharmalingam, and I'm a first-year master student from the Human Movement Science.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ador Zita, and I'm a first-year master's in research psychology.
Thought you would be able to get away.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wisi Lemetula. I'm from the DSI Nanomedicine platform at medical school.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Novio Banzana, and I'm also from the DSI Nanomedicine platform. I'm a science communicator there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tapelo Masego. I'm a lab technician from the DSI Nanomedicine platform.
Thanks very much. Quite a good representation from nanomedicine, which is quite exciting because we're also going to have Prof. Mufamadi, Dr. Mufamadi, presenting on the last day, today at the end of today. So and that's everybody in the venue. So you could see quite a wide group of students, nursing science represented, research, psychology, nanomedicine, dietetics, human movement science, nutrition and dietetics. So did I miss somebody out? Environmental health. Sorry, Prof. I'm just going to the people online. If I could ask, maybe I should actually just call out your name. I see there's somebody by the name of Olga. Olga, could you tell us who you are and which department you're registering with? Okay, I'll take that list. Okay, Ms. Sivitri, so your hand is up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lusanda Sefiti, and I am registered for Masters in Nursing Research. Thank you. And my supervisor will be Prof. Anaidu. Thank you.
Thank you. Bunmi Ademola.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ademola Bumin. I'm a first-year master student in HMS department. Thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa Bowers.
Good morning, Alyssa Bowers here. I'm registered as a master's student in the Medical Laboratory Science Department with my supervisor being Prof. Nanette Smith. Thank you.
Thank you. Boniswa.
Hello, my name is Boniswa. I'm an instructor in health and safety in Saudi Arabia. Thank you.
And which department are you studying through, Boniswa?
Environmental health.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sipesisle Dantile. Ms. Dantile? Okay. Oyama Lubelo?
Good morning, everyone. Oyama Lubelu from the Department of Psychology, and I'm a first-year master's student in research psychology.
Thank you. Hannah Makwela? Ms. Makwela? Must be still on T. Okay. Mandisa?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mandisa Malange. I'm a first-year master's in clinical social work student. My supervisor is Dr. Lagadin, and for now is Dr. Lucy standing for her.
Thank you. I think you are our first social work student. Satula Nomsa?
My name is Nomsa Satula. I am doing dietetics masters, and my supervisor is Dr. Frise, and Ms. Nkondwana, dietetics department. Thank you.
Thank you. Annalisa Pezisa? No, we met the other day. Annalisa? Okay. Ronaldo Jager.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ronaldo Jager, and I'm doing the first year's master's in nursing, and my supervisor is Dr. Tinham Beloy.
Thank you. And the last person is, sorry, not the last person, Shezadia Bucks. Okay, let's go. Anele Siwahla. Sorry, Miss Bucks, come in. Sorry, Sanele. Go ahead, Miss Bucks. Okay. All right, let's go to Anele.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anele Siwahla. I'm enrolling with Masters this time, Masters in Human Nutrition and Dietetics. I'm supervised by Professor Christian. Thank you.
Thank you. Tabane Iso.
Everyone, I'm Tabane Esau. I'm doing masters in radiography. Thank you.
Thanks, Tabane. Tandeka Kuya.
Good morning,
Yeah.
everyone. My name is Pandega. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, my name is Pandega Goyama. I'm a clinical psychologist, currently registered for my PhD in psychology. My supervisor is Professor Ngobo Sithole. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then we've got, I'm not sure who this is, Ugu District Vice Chancellor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Siphoka Zisomba Mabaso. I'm a pharmacist. I'm a first-time student for my master's degree in research, and my supervisor is Mr. Bongosi Nzamba and Dr. Kopashe. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So we've been through everybody online and here. There's quite a community of student researchers. And I think if you can, take note of anybody that you might recognize or who's in your department, particularly if you've not met them before. Nanomedicine sorted there, all right. But to have a little network of students who are going on the same journey as you can make a big difference to you, as you go along, because you can share with one another the ups and downs, and there will be ups and there will be downs. And just being able to talk to others about it. It's quite a lonely journey. So that's an opportunity just for you to connect with others. And so just take note of people online. There's quite a number from different departments. There's one or two with smaller numbers, but maybe they're not all present. So you'll have to search them out. So at least you know that there are others out there doing research. Now, the question is, which I'd like to put to everybody, and this is what we're going to talk about, is the question is, what is a postgrad student? Now, those who are doing their doctorate have got a better idea than those who are doing their masters, because they've had a little bit of experience of what it's like to be having done their masters. And so we will rely on you quite a bit to give some ideas, but it's very interesting to find out those who are in their first year of their masters, how do they see this thing called a postgrad student? Sorry, I did say thing. It's a person. But I'm talking about this role, this actual role of being a postgrad student. Can I just approach any of you? Do I have your consent to just approach you and say, will you please share with me, what do you think? And then from there, we're going to snowball and see if others have got other views. Unless somebody would like to put up their hand and say, and remember, there's no right and wrong answer here. You're not going to get evaluated at the end. So let me put it out there. What do you think is a postgrad student in your mind at the moment? Okay. Yes, Satula, please come in. Oh, sorry, Nomsa, come in.
Okay, I think being a postgrad student means you must be able to be disciplined enough to follow your work through, and you just need to consult if you do not understand some information. With me, I thought of it as a big step, and I'm scared as I'm sitting here. That's why I made it a point that I attend these sessions, because there are things that I think I might have glitches in. Yeah, that's basically how I view it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to sum up what you said, because you said a lot in that very short, very brief message. Number one, Nomsa said you got to be disciplined. That's a big one. So not that you must be disciplined by somebody else, you must be disciplined yourself. And that's quite a difficult thing. Another thing that Nomsa mentioned was the need to communicate. In other words, communicate the challenges that you might have. And another one which I picked up was that she was scared or is scared because of this journey that's ahead of her. Thank you very much, Nomsa. I don't know if anybody would like to add to what Nomsa has said. Your eyes kind of lit up somewhere.
I think it's basically what she just said. Adding to the discipline, you must be willing to sacrifice, because even though I'm still a crawling baby in this research field, but I do understand that in order for you to be successful in something and go further and be obviously an established researcher, you have to have sacrifices that you have to make. Yeah.
That's a very powerful point, that you need to make the journey. It's a privileged journey, right? To be able to do the postgrad journey. Not everybody gets to do it. So you kind of like a very small percentage of the global population. So there's very few people actually do this. But what comes with it is sacrifice, like you've just mentioned now. That is absolutely true. And the sacrifice is not only on your part. You got to think of your family. You also have to make sacrifices in order to enable you to do this. I don't know if you were going to say something. That you kind of look. You kind of. Okay. Anybody else want to add to that? I could tell that you think you you really want to say something.
I suppose it's someone who engages in research-based studies to bring up new information or to add on to studies which have already been conducted.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So this is more about what are you doing? Why are you doing the study, and what's going to come out of the study? In other words, what product or what are you going to contribute to academia or to the knowledge base in your particular discipline or field? As master students, don't put yourself under too much pressure with regard to that. That is more that's going to be the doctoral students who are going to have to take it on even more than what you guys, but you are going to contribute something. But if I can say one thing, is don't think that you're going to change the world. Or don't feel that you have to change the world. You might change the world, and in little ways you probably will, but if you take it on your mind that you have to change the world, you might just freeze up because you think, can I actually do this? But actually, any little contribution to research is going to make a change, but try not to take on that burden of wanting to change the world. Did you want to respond? You want to say something?
I was just thinking, Doc, of the fact that unfortunately you can't be a postgrad student while you are doing your undergrad. So you have to pursue a postgraduate course. But I mean, it's a general thing that you need to actually know.
No, thank you. That's actually, it might sound like an obvious statement, but it's true. You've changed from being undergraduate to being postgraduate, and that's a major difference between the two. That and which can lead to another question. Well, what is the difference between doing an undergraduate course and doing a postgraduate course? I don't know if anybody would like to share online or elsewhere. So nanomedicine in the corner there. I don't know if any of you want to add anything. Would anyone like to say the difference between doing an undergrad, doing a postgrad? I can see you're really excited about responding to this.
Say the difference with an undergrad, I think I'm not going to say a spoon-fed type of setup, but the lectures and you don't really need to go that extra mile. But with a postgrad, now you're the one that's supposed to be doing all the work. No one is really feeding you anything that much. You are doing your research and yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, spot on. Basically, there's one of the distinctions is that undergraduate, you're guided a lot. You get the guidance is very, very specific. It's prescriptive. While when you get into the postgrad, particularly if you're doing a research master's dissertation, in other words, pure research, no coursework, then you are pretty much the captain of your ship. You've got to guide the process, and you can actually determine how quickly or how slowly you go. There are other factors that slow one down, but a lot of the process. I think I'm trying to think who mentioned responsibilities. I think it was Dr. Zingela mentioned on her Professor Ngela mentioned on her presentation. I think she spoke about responsibility, knowing your responsibilities, and you've just highlighted one of those, that you have the responsibility to make sure that this dissertation is completed, and you aren't the supervisors. Depends on the supervisor, but some are more offhand, standoffish. They will let you run the process, and others might be a little bit more prescriptive, and some might adapt to your needs. Some students might need additional support than others. Adiomola, I see your hand is up. Would you like to?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to contribute about the difference between the postgrad and undergrad. And I want to believe that during the undergraduate studies, you may have major areas you are focusing on. For example, in our own department, you may be having exercise physiology, psychology of coaching, this and that. Meanwhile, at the postgrad level, you will have to narrow to a specific part. For example, if you are going for biomechanics, you have to narrow to that group. If you are going for psychology, you have to narrow to sports psychologists, just like that. So you have to, during undergrad, you have many subjects which you combine together. That's why you are in postgrad, you narrow to a specific field. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. There's you kind of, with the undergrad, you kind of safe in a way, because you know exactly what's coming. You can look at your curriculum and you can see what's coming next, and you know what sort of is expected of you. With the actual dissertation, a little bit more tricky, because it's kind of open-ended. Ms. Fikli?
I actually also wanted to add on the differences between the undergrad and the postgrad. With my understanding, the undergrad is actually like a basic qualification, and postgrad is an additional qualification which is more advanced in the level of study. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a good point. It is more advanced. The postgrad does open up doors which the undergrad can't open up. That's something to think about. Not that the undergrad doesn't open up doors, of course it does, but the master's opens up an additional door for you, primarily through promotion, advancement. In academia, it's the gateway into the doctoral journey. So definitely, there is that component. Anybody else like to add with regard to the differences between postgrad and undergrad? You do?
Doc, I've heard a few conversations with, people that have experience in the postgrad journey, and they have shared that for some of them, it can be quite a lonely journey as compared to being an undergrad, whereby most of the time you see your classmates and you engage with them and stuff. So, but what they highlighted is that we don't have to make it a lonely journey, which is what was also highlighted on the research week, or at the research week, whereby it was actually encouraged to make networks, and you just say that with other people, even if it's not people on your field, because obviously you'd actually connect to that person because of a specific reason. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I fully agree with that. It can be, right now it might not be obvious, but it can become a lonely journey. And there's lots of activities now. You've got the research week and other orientations that you're involved in. But when you are and unless you're actually in academia, some of you are actually in academia working, which you're very, very fortunate to be in that position, because then you've got the support of the department. But those of you who are in practice, working full-time, studying part-time, that it's quite difficult, because you are out there in practice and you don't actually have anyone sort of to bounce your ideas off. Having said that, I just wanted to mention this. You've got some people think that it's easier to study full-time opposed to part-time, but actually it can be really, really difficult to study full-time, because your deadlines, or there's the pressure to finish quicker, and that has its own pressures. So just keep that in mind when you are registering, that full-time is not always as easy as one might think it is. NQF level will change once qualified. Ugu District Vice Chancellor, I've forgotten your name now. You said the NQF level will change once qualified. Are you just making the statement? Yeah, absolutely. That is, I think what she means is that your NQF level goes up, which means you can now apply for the next level. That's pretty much what happens. So I thank you for that. Just thinking that, okay, others are not with regard to this. Okay, just talking about the post, any other things that you think, what do you think are the characteristics of a good postgraduate student? Anyone think about it for a second? If you had to think in your mind, what are the characteristics of a good postgraduate student? And I think some people have mentioned some of the points, but if you can think of, particularly if you can think of somebody you know who's finished, and you perhaps can think of what are their characteristics, what are their good qualities?
Thank you so much. I think some of the good qualities of a postgrad student include being responsible. You need to be responsible for your work, for everything that has to do with like your academic. And also you need to plan ahead. For instance, if maybe you're going to the lab or to the field, wherever you're doing your data collection, you need to plan ahead and make sure that you meet all your deadlines. And then you need to have good scientific writing or thesis writing. So yeah, I think those are some of the qualities that a postgrad student needs to like have.
Thank you. That's some very good points there. If I can just repeat them. So being responsible, that's the first one that was mentioned. The ability to plan well. If you can plan really well, it's going to make your journey a lot easier. And it will be touched on day 2 tomorrow. It will be touched on with regard to planning your way as a student. Deadlines and time, you highlighted as also very important. Sticking to deadlines and managing time. And then another one relating to the actual doing of the thesis or the dissertation is writing skills. Now, don't put too much pressure on yourselves. You're going to grow. You're going to get better and better as you are writing. So maybe you'll start off now as you might not be happy with your writing, but know that you are going to improve. So don't beat yourself up too much. And when you see the feedback coming with red writing on it, let's hope it's not red. Maybe they've chosen blue or green. Try and receive it in a positive way. So yes, it looks hectic, but what we normally say is, and you're probably going to hear this a couple of times during the week, just put it aside for the moment, put it under the bed, put it in a drawer somewhere, and forget about it for a little while. And then when you feel ready to look at it again, after you've comforted yourself with maybe some takeaways or something, go back and look at it, and you might feel that you can then deal with it. So, but as far as writing is, it's like one of the biggest skills that you're going to get when you've finished. But you're absolutely right. You need to have a little bit of writing skills now already. But when you've finished, you're going to be even better. Anybody else want to say the characteristics of a? Is there a hand? Oh, awesome. Okay, Ms. Savitsky, come in.
Okay, so other qualities of a good postgraduate student would be being proactive and inquisitive, then apply critical thinking, good time management, obviously discipline, and good research skills.
Sorry, before you go off, you said proactive, and then what was the other thing you said?
Proactive and inquisitive, curious.
Inquisitive.
Yes. good
Yes.
time management, application of critical thinking, and good research skills.
Very nice. Thank you. I really like the proactive one. Yeah. So there was once a student. I remember speaking to her, and she was trying to decide on her theory for her study. And so I was looking at the theory, and I said to her, I don't know if this is the best theory that you could have. She had preempted it. She had guessed that I might say that. So she said, I said, maybe want to think about another theory. So she said she has been thinking about another theory. So I said, well, why don't you go off and find the information and then come and share it with me? And then she said, no, but I have already. And then she took out the theory and she showed me. And I thought, wow, that's awesome. She had already planned and prepared, and she anticipated what might happen. And she managed to actually find something which was actually awesome. She was able to replace it. So yeah, be as proactive as you can. Thank you, Lysander, for actually raising that. Being proactive is a really good quality for a student. If you can try and sort of engender that quality. I also like your suggestion about being inquisitive. I think that's a very good quality for a researcher, to just be really interested in everything and exploring. That's when you're going to be like reading up about things. Nanomedicine is like you're like cutting edge stuff, so there's lots to read there. But every single discipline has got loads of new research on the horizon, and use this opportunity, because you don't get the opportunity often. You've got an excuse to read now. There's going to be a time in your life when you will
Another interesting thing to know about Kanju is that according to law,
when you will not be able to read. You can tell your family or your loved one, I need to go and study now. And so in other words, you've got an excuse to go read, but there will be a time when you will need to say, actually, we've got other commitments. I can't read now. It's the end of my reading days. So this is your opportunity to read. Often when they talk about doing especially a PhD, you say you're reading for a PhD, because essentially you are expected to just read and absorb as much as you can, so that you can be well prepared to write up on this thesis. So yeah, inquisitiveness, really nice. Thank you. And critical thinking skills as well. Many of you have got those critical thinking skills already. Don't think that you don't have them, because many of you are clinicians, or you're practicing in a particular field. You've got those critical thinking skills. Try to transfer them to the theory aspect, or to the writing aspect, or the reading aspect. They're very similar, because it's about problem solving. So always sort of pat yourself on the back and say, what do I already have? I don't have to. But on the converse to that, which I've experienced myself and with other students, they think because they've registered with a master's, they must be a master's student. They must be like one who has already graduated. And so then they're afraid to ask questions, because they think people are going to sort of laugh at them or say, you should know that. That's not true. You haven't graduated yet. You just ask as many questions as you want. So don't put that pressure on yourself. You only registered for the degree. You haven't got it yet. So be sure to ask the questions, and don't allow that pressure to stop you from asking those questions. Did somebody want to ask? Okay, yes. Thank you, Mr. Jache. Goal-driven and disciplined, self-directed. Yeah, absolutely. Also, I see that Prof. Sinkela also mentioned about being goal-driven. And thank you. That's absolutely right. I think little goals, lots and lots of little goals, will actually help you to get to the end of the journey, because it is a journey, right? So yeah, absolutely goal-driven, self-directed. Yeah, absolutely organized and structured. That's very powerful. Being organized and structured. And many of your disciplines are requiring it anyway. I think of the pharmacists have to be super organized when it comes to the pills. Sorry, I'm simplifying pharmacy now. It's much more complicated than that. But just many of your disciplines are very organized. So again, tap into that and transfer it to your research. Then I see Sibakazi says, some of the characteristics of a good postgraduate student need to be self-disciplined and focused, have the ability to accept criticism and learn from that. Wow, that's very powerful. I'll come to you now, Timbeka. So if I can just repeat that, being focused and being able to accept criticism and learn from it, that is a very powerful statement. Because there's going to be times when your supervisor gives you very hard criticism and it's going to be difficult to receive it. And what you sort of have to try and do with humility is to accept it and then learn from it. But it's not easy. Trust me, it's not easy. And that's why I say you're going to have to walk away. As I say, step away from the vehicle, put your hands where I can see them. And then when you're ready again, come and have a look at that feedback. And then being focused, I just wanted to mention on that because it's a really good point. Many of you may not have settled on your topic, and that can be one of the most difficult steps, especially for a doctoral student. Can be one of the most difficult things is to settle on that topic. I know of students who have taken nearly 2 years to settle on a topic. That's how difficult it can sometimes be. So if you have found your topic, just be so grateful that you have and that you've settled on it. And those who haven't, don't give up. It's often a very important part of the research is to settle on a topic that works for you, that is doable, that your supervisor is happy with, and that you feel you'll be able to finish. So yeah, so that's where the focus comes in. The other aspect of focus would be to avoid being distracted about lots of life, basically. There's masses and massive things to distract you. I think you also raised it as well with regard to the comparison of the postgrad, undergrad. The structure of the undergrad makes it easier because I got to finish a test for this date, so I've got to study towards that test. I've got an assignment for this date, so I've got to work towards that assignment. While with your master's or your doctorate, you've got to set your own dates. You've got to work towards dates which are movable. And that makes it challenging. You kind of have to make your dates unmovable, but that takes a lot of discipline. I see quite a number of comments on the chat box as well as in the room have referred to the disciplined aspect. It's really is one of the most important qualities of a postgrad student, and that is being able to discipline themselves. But again, it's something that you can develop over time. Okay. Any other ideas? I was sort of relaxed. Oh, sorry, Ms. Sidanane, please come in.
Thank you, David. And I'm going to take on my student persona right now. So I think as a postgraduate student myself, one of the characteristics that I think are essential is the ability to be able to own your research. So we are being guided by supervisors. Some of them were trained, in ages ago, and methodologies and how research has been conducted is constantly changing. So I think that ability to be able to receive guidance from the supervisor, but also be able to take ownership of your study, in that if you are maybe set on a certain methodology and methodologically there are no flaws, but you might find that maybe it's not the comfort zone of your supervisor, being able to navigate situations such as that. So as much as you lean on guidance from your supervisor, you need to be able to own your study, because at the end of the day, you get to graduate and you know more about that study than any other person.
Thank you very much, Timbeka. That was an excellent point. If I can just repeat it just very quickly, the word ownership is a very powerful word. So if you can literally finish your proposal and go and present it to the department. Our department, we present to our staff, and you don't actually know what you're presenting on. I've seen it many times. The student is presenting on a proposal which has been overly guided, perhaps by the supervisor. It's not a negative thing on the supervisor's case, but it's just that the student hasn't said, this is my study and I know what I want to do with my study. So just be careful about that too. I think it's an excellent point. Sometimes people only take ownership like after they've collected their data, and that's when they feel, okay, I'm now in control. And others, because of perhaps of the supervisor, they feel uncomfortable to sort of challenge the supervisors. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean it just saying, I would like to do it like this, and then wait for the feedback. But I think that's the key thing is if you can just internalize that concept of ownership, but you only can take ownership if you know your topic and you've read well around the topic. Be careful of saying, I'm taking ownership and challenging on something that you don't know enough about, because then you're going to end up being frustrated because you're not going to have the answers that you need to respond to your supervisor. So, okay, just keeping a track of the time. Just give me 1 second. If you allow me just to sum up, you will notice that I didn't ask you what are the characteristics of a bad postgraduate student. Did you notice that? Okay. And we're not going to talk about it because none of you are going to be bad students. You're all going to be good students, all right? So I want to just sum up briefly the main points that came up, the main ideas about basically the characteristics of a good postgraduate student. In other words, who is a postgraduate student? One of the big things that came up was discipline. Postgraduate student needs to have a lot of discipline. A really nice one, which has come through in different ways, including the discussion around ownership, is communication. If you can communicate well with your supervisors, very open and also encourage your supervisors to be also communicating well. So you can actually be proactive, as Mr. Yache says, and that will also encourage your supervisors to respond. So if you're the last person to email the supervisor, there's a good chance they'll respond to you if you don't pester them, but just communicate timeously and often. The issue of being responsible, that was a big one. People have raised the issue of being a responsible student, to be able to plan. That was important. Plan for the future, manage their time, to be proactive. In other words, to think ahead, and also linking to ownership. And of course, being engaging critical thinking and being inquisitive. That's also very important. I think, and the big one that was raised was the issue of sacrifice. That the postgrad student is unfortunately going to be expected to make some small sacrifices, some big sacrifices, and some of those sacrifices will actually be made by other people who are close to you. And so you owe them afterwards. And they might use it against you and say, you owe me. It's my turn to study now. So yeah, there's a number of things. And if you can just keep that in mind, and it links to something which you all expected, particularly those who are doing the qualitative route, but you can also do it if you're doing the quantitative route, and just keep a research journal. That can either be a hard copy book, or if you prefer online, you can have open up a Word document and you can capture your thoughts on Word, or you can send yourself emails about and just say research journal commentary 1, and that's your very first one about your research journal. So you can sort of put it together like that. Some people even create their own blogs, but the main thing is that you write down your experiences so that you can reflect on it. And all of you are healthcare professionals, and so you are aware of a reflective practice. You know, reflective practice is there to help you to improve on your practice. So if you keep your journal, it's going to help you to improve on the way you do things. And please, it doesn't have to be like masses and masses of writing. Like at the end of your dissertation, it's actually longer than your thesis. It just has to be a little note here and there to yourself, just to maybe as a note of affirmation or encouragement, or just a challenge that you might have experienced. Okay, so on that note, I want to bring the discussion around what is a postgraduate student to a close. And then I am going to ask we've got some students who have already walked the journey and who are going to now share their experience of walking the journey. And the first person, I'm going to just see if she is online. Yes.
Hello, I am online.
Okay. Thank you. Lisa Elf, a recent master's, almost a graduate student. If without further ado, Lisa, if I can ask you to just share your journey with everybody here. You can share your screen now.
Hi, everybody. I thought I'll quickly show you who I am, and then I will share my presentation with you. Thank you very much, Dr. Morton. It's really great to be here. If you can just bear with me while I share my screen. Thank you. Okay. If you can tell me when you can see it.
We can see it. Do you want to make it on a slideshow?
Okay, will do.
Sorry, Philip, did you want to come in there?
Okay, can everybody see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Morton, for allowing me to speak. I'm going to use my slideshow just as a guideline, but chat through it. And please, at any stage, you can ask me any questions. I can't see hands and I can't see the audience, so you can just stop me and I'll stop and answer if I can. So yes, thank you very, very much for having me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to the students for your time and for allowing me to share my journey with you. And congratulations on your decision to further your studies. I think it's the best decision you could make for yourselves. As Dr. Morton says, I've just finished and waiting for grad in 2 weeks' time, and very excited to walk across the stage. And I'd like to share this journey with you. I'm going to share sort of my topic, the process, some of the challenges I faced along the way, the highlights, and also finally some tips to guide you along your own journeys. So I did log in a little bit earlier, and it was interesting to hear some of your comments. And interestingly enough, most of those comments are going to come up in my discussion with you. So just to quickly introduce myself, I am Lisa Els. I'm a nursing manager in a really busy mental health institution in a private facility. Full-time working. I am a mum of a 25-year-old, so he is an adult and a little bit easier to manage, and I'm married to a teacher. So life at home is pretty stable, but my workplace is extremely challenging. So it was interesting to hear your feedback around being committed, and I'm going to share a couple of things with you. So choosing my topic, and I heard Dr. Morton saying how long it takes some PhD students to choose their topic, and really mine did change many, many times. I started at a different institution, and I started with patient satisfaction just because it was quite an integral part of my work. So I thought that would actually be interesting. Then for various reasons, I changed to NMU and slowly, very slowly evolved into my final topic, which was the unit manager's perceptions of compassion fatigue among nurses at private hospitals in the Eastern Cape. So in a way, you can see that it tied up to my first thought around patient satisfaction, because I couldn't work out why patients were not satisfied and how are nurses not able to care. And so my topic came about and changed. This choosing of the topic was guided by my supervisor and co-supervisor, as well as the literature I was reading, as well as really my interests and in fact my work, my actual role at work. So a lot of factors played a role in what I decided to do. And I think somebody mentioned about owning your topic. And so this was something that was really real for me. So it was easy to to buy into it. And I was also at one stage, my supervisors changed. So that also took a bit of adapting to, you know, both from the supervisor side and from my side. And because you've got to build a relationship with your supervisor, co-supervisor, and you've got to develop a communication method which suits both of you. So that's very important. So my process, my whole study was conducted via WhatsApp voice notes, Zoom, and then changed to MS Teams. So I am not in Port Elizabeth. I live in East London. So, and I've literally met my supervisor once in person, and that was to present my proposal to the ethics committee. So the rest of my study was done far away. And so really I wanted to highlight that it can be done. Once I had my proposal presented, they did accept it, but there were many changes that needed to be done. So don't be fooled by the fact that you're presenting your proposal and when you leave there, you're going to be ready to conduct your study. There were many changes that I still needed to do. Once approved by the ethics committee at the university, I then had to obtain approval from the company where I was conducting the study. It's a healthcare setting, so obviously there's a lot of ethical clearance needed there. And so once that was done, I could then begin my data collection. Just remembering that timelines, your timelines are not everybody else's timelines. So, for example, there are specific dates that the ethics committee meets. And so, you know, when I went into this, I didn't really realize that. And I thought, well, I'd be driving my process. And whilst you do take ownership, quite a lot of it is not really in your own hands. And that's why you have to really take ownership of what you can control. So as I said, once I got ethical clearance, I could begin my data collection. But then, and in big capital, but then COVID-19 came along, something that I don't think any of us ever expected. And so there was a huge impact on my study. Initially, I thought of doing focus groups to collect my data, but then this could not be done as a result of the COVID-19 restrictions. There was a long delay as I had to wait until the end of the 5th wave to collect the data, as the participants that were part of my study were very much involved in the pandemic. And so I had to obviously respect their limitations and their time. And then data collection had to then take place via MS Teams, something I was not really good at, but I think we all learned to manage it very well during COVID. And so I then had to do individual interviews. But really, COVID as it was a bad thing, but a lot of good things have come out of it, and we've had a lot of new learnings. And so one of the things that was very applicable for me was the transcription and recording capabilities of MS Teams. This really assisted me immensely when analyzing my data, because I could listen as many times as I needed to, could replay it, I could look at the transcriptions, and, you know, in order to enhance the quality of the data collected. The camera aspect of the MS Teams also helped, because if I had met the participants face to face in person, we would have all been wearing masks, and obviously then picking up on nonverbal cues would have been a problem. So using Teams, I could observe their facial expressions. It also allowed me to be able to do interviews without traveling. And I think there's that's a huge plus. Also, obviously, my meetings with my supervisors could be done via MS Teams, cut down a lot of time and costs of traveling. So that was also very handy. And I'm wondering if we would have done that pre-COVID. So yes, there were definitely some positives. Just to go on. The challenges that I faced during my journey as a master's student was that I come from a clinical, non-academic setting, so there was little support. And I know that one of you alluded earlier to the journey being lonely. And yes, I think it really can be. For myself, I think I did find it lonely to a degree. I am very much a solo worker, so I'm okay with that. I don't need really company and support, and I've never studied in study groups, so that wasn't an issue, but that might be difficult for some people who like to study in groups. I also found that, you know, obviously also in our workspace as in healthcare, there's so much going on, and COVID also added to that, that there really weren't too many people I could share my journey with. In fact, didn't share it with too many people at all. I always laugh because my family wasn't that supportive either, because they just think we're absolutely fine at everything I do. So I don't think they always understood some of the anxiety that I was facing. Then another challenge, as I've mentioned, I have a demanding workspace and a position where I really work for 11-hour days, 24/7, on call 365 days of the year, you know, with the odd days leave here and there. But so having to fit my study in really after hours, and I would honestly spend my whole weekend sort of from Friday evening till Sunday, and I used to try and do a little bit in the week, but really struggled with that. Again, a healthcare worker in the midst of a global pandemic, it added its own challenges. And then lockdown. I don't know if any of you realized, but on the 27th of March, which was a couple of days ago, it was 3 years that lockdown was announced. And it's amazing how resilient human beings are and how we've just all moved on. You still see the odd mask here and there and a little few remnants of the COVID pandemic and lockdown, but lockdown had a huge impact on all of us and on us at the workspace. So we carried on working, but there were some positives in that the world was not as rushed. My family worked from home, so my evenings were a little bit easier. We'd come home, didn't have to do the whole school prep and work prep for lunch because they were working from home. So in that way, it was also easier. We couldn't just go shopping, we couldn't visit, so really definitely had a bit of more spare time. But there was that fear of COVID-19. I had to obviously manage my own fear, that of my staff. Being a manager, they were terrified. A lot of them had, as I say, in healthcare, so a lot of them were terrified of taking COVID home to their families. My patients, every time there was a sniffle, that was huge. And of course, my family. I have elderly parents that stay with me. And so there were all of those challenges. And then the distance learning. As I said, I met my supervisor once in the hall and hope to meet them again at graduation. But that was, and the rest of the time was via Teams. IT challenges. I mention this because I'm a nurse and I'm better with a ventilator than a computer. So I'd really do, one of you mentioned writing skills, and Dr. Morton rightly said, and I think he probably said this to me, would have said this to me many times, you are not a master's graduate yet, you are studying to be one. Your writing skills will get better, but really I would probably advise you to really get up to speed with all the capabilities of MS Word, all of those things that will help you and ease your referencing. Yeah, it's really important. So I'm very fortunate in that I have a son who's an IT buff. I was very spoiled because he bought me a big screen. So I had a big screen and a laptop, so I could put some documents onto one screen and work with dual screens. But yeah, IT remained a challenge for me, and I'm not 100% sure that I've progressed that much since the beginning of my master's. And then personal challenges. Don't forget, I've written at the bottom that the world does not stop whilst you study. So things are going to happen. There are going to be curveballs. I had a very sad loss in my family 2 weeks into lockdown, which was probably about this time 3 years ago. We had a burglary at home at 5 a.m. They took my laptop and my hard drive that I had backed up on the Sunday, and this was a Tuesday. So every little scrap of work was gone, and I had mad frantic emails to my supervisor and co-supervisor, who then just started, between the three of us, we found everything I could find via my Gmail messages. But other than that, My literature was gone, and that was probably a year and a half into my study. So yes, the world does not stop whilst you're studying. So what you know, whilst you feel that you're in a bubble, you're actually not. And until you get to grips with that, it is quite difficult to imagine. Just going on from there. So some of the highlights, and really my supervisors know that I really love the process. It's the feeling of personal growth that you feel whilst you're doing that. Somebody spoke about writing. I know that, I mean, I've just graduated. I would like to continue studying further, and one can never be as, you know, your best. So one is always trying to improve. But it is such a nice feeling to see how you develop. And also just that feeling that I added to the body of knowledge out there with my topic, and that maybe I can make a difference with the data that I collected. I certainly know that I've already been able to make a difference just around my understanding in my own workplace. So that's a really good feeling, and sort of that feeling of empowerment and ownership. I think somebody mentioned ownership. Own your study. It is yours. I remember my supervisor keeps saying, it's your study. Just own it, you know, just love the process. It's lifelong learning. I'm really much somebody for lifelong learning. I feel that we can all improve all the time. There's growth, room for growth every minute of our days. I'd never done Skype. And I was sweating before my first meeting, not about what the meeting was going to be, but whether I'd be able to work Skype. I didn't know how to share documents on MS Teams. I gained new knowledge around the topic, and you can imagine compassion fatigue is still a huge part of my daily work. And then just learning research language, just such a nice feeling to almost speak. I work in mental health, and I always feel like we've got almost our own little language, and I feel like in a way there's also kind of a research language, and just getting to be part of the academia is just so fulfilling. I also really love building relationships with my participants. I did a qualitative study, and also my supervisor and co-supervisor. And Dr. Morton spoke about communication, and I'm going to bring that up in one of my tips, but it is really important to communicate with your supervisor and co-supervisor all the time, where you're at, how you're feeling. I remember asking over and over again whether I was the worst student they'd ever had, because you keep wanting that reassurance. And just again, you're not part of a classroom. You're not actually seeing marks. You're not seeing where you are in the standings. You've got nothing to measure yourself up against. So for me, there was often a feeling of inadequacy. Coming from a space where I manage a unit, I feel quite sort of in control of what I'm doing, and I suddenly became totally out of control with what I was doing, or not in control of what I was doing. I also loved the incredible buy-in I had from the participants, found this extremely humbling. However, I can imagine that this is not always the case. So I think be prepared for that. Interviews don't always go the way you want them to go. Also, I am in mental health. I am quite used to engaging with people, but the interview process is quite daunting. You're dealing with people, and you do not want to undermine them. So it isn't easy. And then I had amazing support from fellow managers in the workplace who assisted in enabling the interviews to take place, which I also found quite humbling. It's also taught me that if I ever get a survey online or I'm asked to fill in anything, I do not ignore it, where perhaps a while back I might have. I know how difficult it is to get people invested in what you're interested in, because remember, what you're planning and your study is yours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. So how much you want it may not be nearly, as important to other people. So that's also important to know. Tips. So here are a couple of tips for you. You need to commit to the process, and people did speak about commitment. You need to be patient with yourself and with the process. So what I would do is I would work over weekends, send it through on the Sunday, and then I knew I would have to wait. And initially this was really hard for me, you know, but I needed to understand that my supervisors were supervising other students, that it is just a minuscule part of their day, where it's a big focus for you as a student. Not that it's not important to them, but there are other students also and other work. So I had to learn to wait, nag a little bit here and there, but I had to respect everybody else's time. So that's a very, somebody once told me as well, who had done her master's, that was something, and I kept remembering what she'd said. So that's important to be consistent, make set times as per your own schedule. So you need to do what works for you. If you're a late night worker, then that's what you do. If you rather get up at 3 a.m., that's what you do. What I found was the weeks were just too distracting for me, and it didn't help me to do 3 minutes here and 10 minutes there. So I would really, honestly, my weekends disappeared. I would really spend from Friday evening, and I would commit that by Sunday evening, come by hook or by crook, I would submit the homework or the corrections that I had. And then find a space in your home wherever possible. It's not always easy for people. Find a space at the college, at the university, find a space in a library, but make a space where you can work. Set your goals and stick to them wherever possible. And remember, as I said, life happens. Sometimes those goals are not that easy to meet, but you've just got to pick yourself up and get going again. Like when my laptop was gone, I mean, it took me 2 weeks to get one back, about 3 or 4 weeks to retrieve the data that I had, but that never made up for all the work I lost. However, in retrospect, my topic had changed, so probably was more the data, the literature I had was probably more streamlined then at that stage. And then getting back to lonely, find a support person, whoever your support person may need to be. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty much a solo flyer. I'm okay on my own, but for some people, a support person is very important. Maybe also because I work in a mental health facility, there is sort of subtle support without realizing it. So you need to find what works for you. Again, communicate often with your supervisor, ask questions, speak about the topic, speak about your concerns. They don't know what you're unsure of if you don't know. And read. Just keep reading. As Dr. Morton said, now is your time, and it's a good excuse. And also just, I think Dr. Morton mentioned when you get your feedback back, do not take it personally. It was tough for me initially. As I say, quite respected in my workspace. I've been a manager for many years, and to suddenly know very little about something and to be really, I mean, there were corrections from the top line to the bottom line, and I would correct something over and over. And I remember saying to a friend of mine, I'm on version 4, and she had done a master's, and she said, don't worry, I got to version 12. You're doing very well. So just be aware that exactly what Dr. Morton said. I just take a breath, close my laptop, and come back with a cup of tea. And some people might come back with a glass of wine later, and then start when I was ready to work on it. But do not take it personally. It isn't easy, especially if as a professional in your own rights. But remember, you're a student now, and you don't know where you are a student because you're trying to learn new things. You don't know them yet. So very, very important. And then finally, just enjoy every minute. Listen to your supervisors. Remember, they're the experts that will get you over the winning line. And I really realized that the initial hard work makes the end much easier. It all starts in the beginning, and you weave a fine thread right through till the end. But the hard work at the beginning makes all the difference. Understand that this is not a quick process. The sooner you understand this, the less anxious and frustrated you will be. And if Rome was built in a day, graduation would be a daily occurrence, and we all know it's not. And be proud to be adding to the world of research in your own small way. And just in closing, a quote from Mother Teresa, not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. Thank you very much. Please let me know if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I just want to ask the floor in the venue if there's anybody who'd like to ask Lisa any questions. And I'm just seeing, I'm just looking at the online guests. I think that's just Philip giving a high five. If I could ask a question, Lisa, you mentioned that family doesn't always. I know you have a supportive family, but family doesn't always understand what you're going through as a master's student. Could you give any advice about how one can sort of communicate the challenges of being a student to your family?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think perhaps it's about, as I say, they don't know what you're going through, and it's about that continuous communication with them, the same as you do with your supervisors and anybody you feel you need to share that information with. I think I just found I was okay without a whole lot of support, but I know that that most people are not like me. So it's very important that they understand what you're scared of, what time you need. I think it's important that between you and your families, if you're not married yet, you've got a partner, or that you need to know that, and they need to know that this is a commitment that you've put, you've committed to, and that you are going to need time out to do your work. And I think if you set those goals and stick to them, and they have their time with you and you have your own time, it's very important. I always made sure that we laughed. I said to my husband the other day, he didn't miss one supper because of my master's. So either I'm very good or I'm a good multitasker. But yeah, I think your families and your support people will have different needs to mine. But I think communication is the key in all aspects. So I think, yeah, I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I think letting them know what you need, hearing from them what they expect through this journey. There's financial implications. So you need to know that if you're not funded, how is it going to impact on your family? Are you sharing funding? Are you sharing resources? Is anybody else in your family studying? As I say, I studied at a time where my family, my son is an adult, everybody's working. My husband's a teacher, so a lot of us are often sitting at desks working. So it didn't impact too much on them, but it may very well impact. I'm an older master's student, so I can see from the room that a lot of you are younger, and so your circumstances will be different. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I think one of the things which, when you replied to that question, was the fact that you actually set time aside to spend with your family. And I think if I could just say, that's important, that as far as possible, to try not let the studies impact on your family relationships, because it can really be quite overwhelming sometimes.
And you need time for yourself as well. I mean, you need to, I didn't stop. So for me, something that's really important for sort of stress relief is exercise. And I made sure that I didn't compromise any of that. Stay healthy, eat well, do your vitamins, look after yourself as well, because it can actually be quite a taxing time. But I think if you do put those measures in place, you look after your family, you still have your recreation time. I used to take some of those times while I was waiting for feedback just to really not look at my computer for a few days, and just to take time back for myself. I think it's important. And I think that's why I was able to really, I don't think, probably the one time I wanted to give up was when my laptop was stolen, but that didn't last 2 seconds, when I realized I could just start again. But I don't think it was a minute in the day when I felt like, what was I doing? And I think that was because I actually took care of myself. And but you've got to be strict and disciplined. It's very important.
Spoken like a true mental health practitioner. Thank you, Lisa. I'm just checking the time. Any other questions? You all good? Just checking the screen again. Thank you very much, Lisa. Very enjoyable, very nicely presented. Really appreciate you taking time out to share your journey with us.
Thank you. It was a
If you can
pleasure.
give Lisa another round of applause.
Well, thank you and all the best. And yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy every minute of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. We now have our second speaker. This is a doctoral graduate, and her name is Sandra Thompson Asan, and she's joining us all the way from Ghana. And I see there's Sandra there. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you so much. Please
Sorry, let me rephrase that. Dr. Thompson Asan.
Thank you so much. Please, can you all hear me?
You're a little bit soft. Bertrand, I don't know if
Hello,
you can.
is it better now?
A little bit better. I don't know if you can adjust the sound at all. Is your sound a bit soft, maybe?
Sure. Is it okay now?
Let's give it a go, and we'll see how it goes from here.
Yes, good. Please just prompt me if I need to repeat something or you need to ask any question. So kindly permit me to quickly share my screen, and we'll begin our talk. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Good. I guess my screen too is visible.
It is. Thank you.
Good, thank you. So as mentioned, my name is Sandra Thompson Asan, and I'm so excited to share with you my journey as a postgrad student in the Faculty of Health Science in Nelson Mandela University, especially as an international student. Good. So there in 2014, the idea was for me to come for my master's straight away in Nelson Mandela. So I applied, and should I say, sadly enough, I was told to apply to SAQA, the South African Qualification Authority first, and I received the backlash that my qualification from Ghana is such that I will need a year program before I can be enrolled in the master's program. That was quite challenging. Why? Because the family sat and the plan was I'm going to have my 2 years master's and return home. So we've allocated funds for just that. Now the information comes back and I have to commence with a year honors program. But hey, I said to myself, let me just give it a shot to see how it turns out to be. And then thankfully I was able to join, and it was from February. I came in January for orientation, but it was from February to October 2014. And then following that program, I enrolled in my master's, but that is by dissertation. And then I followed through with my PhD. So I know where people will be asking themselves questions will be, how come she commenced in July 2017 and graduated in December 2019? So yes, I'm happy to share with you that I used only 2 years to do this, although I was an international student. And I wasn't staying in South Africa. I only came in to see supervisors. But I'm happy this morning, I'm going to share with you the strategies I adopted to make this work. So this is me in 2014 during our orientation. I don't recall the name of this area, but I know it's close to town, and that is where we were taking through various areas to see where we could have our shopping, where we could have fun and all that. So this is me 2014. And yes, so following my honors degree, I was so exposed to clinical, to counseling, and then to research. So I applied for my master's degree, but specifically, I was looking at either clinical or counseling. Unfortunately, I didn't get through, but I said to myself, I'm also good in research. Why don't I quickly consider the research? Pardon me, I've made a spelling mistake here with the master's. Okay, so now I was asked to share my topic. If I'm going into research, I was asked to share my topic, and they will find a supervisor for me. it was quite challenging because there in October, I'd come home, I'd applied for my master's, I was just waiting, and now no feedback from NMMU. It was very sad. I was like, oh, so I just came home with still bachelor's degree. This is quite unfortunate. And that is when I was told, when I followed up with questions to the international office, that is where I was told that apparently they would have to circulate your topic for a supervisor to show interest in the department, then you can begin the work. So it was circulated for several months. In 2015 January, I received an email from Mr. Kempi van Rooyen, who was then a clinical psychologist and then also a lecturer there in the university. So I was going to look more into suicide. I was going to look more into suicide, but he is also a PTSD person. Nevertheless, he walked me through, made me understand how suicide and that of the PTSD is correlated in a way. And then I developed the interest and then just went along with him. And he was really an awesome supervisor. And I've laid down certain challenges, certain opportunities, certain strengths that helped me find this amazing supervisor. Then also I moved on to my doctoral degree, and I'm happy to tell you that because of the amazing relationship I had with my master's supervisor, he is the one that held my hand, walked me into Professor Ali's office and said, hey, listen to me, I'm giving you this student, you can work with her, she's not going to give you troubles, she's going to make the work much easier, so I'm handing her over to you. And I just said to him again that, Mr. Kempi, I'm not ready for PhD. Then he says, Sandra, considering your findings, you can do this, just consider comparative studies and it's going to be awesome. So he, to a larger extent, encouraged me to go in for my doctoral degree. And here I found Professor Ali, and he was also super, super, super amazing and welcomed me to work with me. So with both topics, I mainly looked into the qualitative bits. And then as I take you through my strengths, the challenges I encountered and the ways forward, I will get to incorporate how I commenced even with my introduction, my literature, the methodology, and then also data collection and sharing my findings and the conclusions. So I will just merge them in as I go ahead. Yes, so like I said earlier on, you get to know the opportunities I have there at Nelson Mandela University, also the challenges, the surviving strategies I personally adopted, and then currently the world opportunities I'm enjoying. So I would first want to tell you that where you find yourself now is one of the best universities. Let me put it in the world. I won't limit it to South Africa, in the world. Why? Because of where it has put me now. And then I enjoyed staff who were so welcoming. I can knock at any door and they are more than happy to listen to me. They are more than happy to guide me through whatever I need to know. Although, yes, you wouldn't find everyone to be the same, which helps us understand their individual differences. I had one or two challenges with certain supervisors, which is normal. They will tell you, I'm not interested in what you're coming to say. You had no appointment with me. Of course, you need to always book appointments. I actually got to learn this from Nelson Mandela, because here in Ghana, in most of our universities, they have the open door policy where you can just walk in. But I didn't know that the cultural differences sparked in, and at some point I even just break down and I just say to myself, hey, rise up again, because you are here for something, look to the end. And I also had opportunities to pursue the further education, as in because of the close friendship, close relationship I had with my supervisor. He kept encouraging, because I was just there for my master's, but he said to me, Sandra, you can do this, so get it done. And then also he's the same person, that is Mr. Kempi is the same person who helped me get the National Research Fund and also the university scholarships, which was so amazing because it helped with the flight tickets. It also helped with my books, and then I sometimes called it's shoe money. I had some for my shoes as well. And then also I also grabbed the opportunity when it comes to free research seminars or workshops. So with this bit, usually I'll wake up and always running into my emails to see if there are opportunities of this nature, because I won't even find money to go anywhere to attend any workshops. And then always I wake up, I'm seeing messages from RCD, and then I'll quickly email them and they will say, okay, we have 20 slots, you came in early, so you're one of the early birds, you are welcome to join this workshop. So I took such opportunities, and they really helped me with my writing skills. They really helped me to understand how to integrate information from peer research journals, and how to make it such that it fits right into my my write-up I want to send out there. And also it helped me to also know at what point to bring in my voice, because as a master's student or as a PhD candidate, you always need to come up with something novel. And then also the investors at NMU provided me with facilities that I could easily access. There was free writing workshops, as I mentioned. I could also go to the library. I could find books, online ones, and it was very, very amazing. And then also there during the honors period, I had opportunity to volunteer to work with the Transnet Fellow Pepper. So I was there with other colleagues, and then we were there as interns to do one-on-one counseling sessions, to also do group sessions. I recall I had psychoeducation with parolees, and that was also a great exposure that I had. And then it was so much of interest for me because I was also given the opportunity to blend with people from varying nationalities and varying nations. And then also there in South Africa, I had the opportunity to make friends with people from the varying ethnic groups as well. And then the opportunity I had there at Transnet gave me the hands-on grasp on having, say, counseling sessions. And then also I recall the opportunity Prof. Howcroft gave us. We went to, the name is not coming immediately, but it's a mental health clinic there in Summerstrand. The name is not coming immediately. This was somewhere in 2014. And then also what amazed me a lot was the student-led lectures that we had in classes, where our lecturers will give us topics in groups to go and heavily research on, to come and present in class. This was a new opportunity for me, because here in my university here in Ghana, I recall we were like 400 in a class, so we were not always having such an opportunity, so I could never had that chance to even present in class, but this was quite challenging, and it's made me read and love to learn a lot. And also it's the wow aspect for me was I got to learn with people from different nations. I got to learn with people from different tribes, and I got to go beyond just learning for academics. I got to learn from the varying cultures as well. And then, as I keep saying, I had an amazing support from my supervisor, and I'm going to show you how this really happened. So this is me there with colleagues during the Transnet support times, and I think we went to Fredensburg. That place is called South Dunham. Oh yes, although I enjoyed varying opportunities, there were also challenges. I developed aerophobia because, especially from 2015 to 2019, I always had to come to South Africa at least twice in every year. And the trip from Joburg to Port Elizabeth wasn't a baby one, wasn't a friendly one at all, especially when it's windy. I sometimes would say my last words, my last prayers, because I know that's it for me. But thankfully, I'd always landed safely. But one of the challenge, a huge challenge, was that I developed this phobia to the extent that right after 2019, I said to myself, I am not traveling again, because this experience from 2015 to 2019, especially from just Joburg to Port Elizabeth, has never been fine with me. So I'm not looking at it again. But hey, that belief has changed, and I'll take you through that as well. Okay, I also had issue when it comes to accents. Sometimes the words, the way they were pronounced, they were quite different, and I'm sure the way I also pronounce my words were quite different, but I'll show you how I made it happen well for me, such that I could, blend with people. I could sit and listen to people with rapt attention. I could understand now whatever they say. But in fact, 2014, February 2014, October, it was a huge struggle with both lecturers and with my own colleagues when it comes to the accent. I could sit in a lecture and I'll hear nothing. Why? Because I couldn't relate well. I couldn't understand certain words. Later, I had to go and find out, and it was just too late for me. But again, I'll show you how it worked later for me. Right, and then there was issue when it comes to financial challenges, because I recall telling you that I came in for my master's for 2 years, and that is a financial assistant I was going to get from my family, and now it's extended to 3 years, and now it is even extended to more years because of the PhD. But here again, my supervisor was very helpful, especially the master supervisor was really, really helpful in that regard. And then also another challenge was finding a supervisor, like I mentioned to you. It goes back, as I understood from the department and the international office, it goes back to the research interest. So if you are coming up with a title and no one is well-versed in there to support you, and they are helping you to bring some tweaks in there or to adjust to fit in well, I know sometimes it's quite sad, it's quite discouraging, but if you can find an interest in that, if you are that person that is versatile and can make it work, I would encourage that you explore it. I came in with ideas about suicide here in Ghana. I'm now more into PTSD, and I'm happy to even tell you today that anything related to traumatic events in Ghana, I'm the first point of call. I'm the person they will call on. I would have to train people to go and offer support. So yes, this is as a result of the tweaks that were brought into my title. So sometimes please, bear with the supervisors, get to understand them, and you won't regret that at the end. And then when it comes to participants, especially when I was doing the PhD, when it comes to data collection, it was really, really difficult for me. I wasn't getting people, but here again, I had Prof. Ali, who was also, again, very, very supportive. Linked me up with some students who finally helped me to find participants to collect the information that would be relevant to my objectives. And then also there in the master's level and then the PhD, I again had issues when it comes to ethical approval, which is very, very essential. I always agreed with them, although it was back and forth. Why? Because we are going to deal with human, and anything that would trigger emotions should be well addressed before you are giving the green light. So that was also a headache, but again, I had my supervisors on board. They kept bringing in ideas, and it worked fine eventually. And one other thing that I encountered, which we are all going to encounter, will be the writer's block. Sometimes you commence and you feel like, excuse me to say, you've entered the wrong field. Sometimes you feel like just giving up, packing your things and leaving because nothing is happening. But when you get to this stage, give yourself a break. Writer's block could happen even to those who have had their interest or their title approved without any tweaks. It can happen to you because as you get to engage with literature, as you get to incorporate ideas, as you get to read, the confusion sets in. But when it happens, give yourself a break, go and reflect, and then bounce back. It feels so refreshing. And then as to how I reflected, I will take you through that. And then also it was quite tough because when I come to Ghana, I have to juggle work, family, and then research. I'm a married person. I have 2 children, and then it wasn't a soft zone for me at all. But hey, I had the support from family. I had great supervisors, especially with a PhD. I had Prof. Ali, who would always drop me the text to tell me, hey, we are finishing this. You can't end soon, because sometimes he can see that this lady is relaxing, especially the fact that she is not here. Let me get her. Then sometimes he will ask, when are you coming to visit? then I would have to block a month and then come in, meet with him. And he's always prioritizing me. I love him for that. Meet with him. He will give all the support I need. He permits me to even record the sessions that he has with me so that I can play it over again, so that if perhaps I had any issue with words I'm not familiar with, I can always go and search to get going. How then did I survive? So during, so I'm going to lump how I survived from 2014 to 2019. At the start of it all, I focused at the end of the tunnel. I said to myself, I came to South Africa to live initially with a master's degree. Nothing is going to stop me. The tough moments will come through, but I'm going to make it work. I'm going to look for support. So I became very disciplined. I respected my own views. I respected my own laid out plans. I make sure I adhered to my timetables, because especially from 2015, I only come there for a month and I come home for say 3-4 months and everything is about Ghana. I no longer think about books there in South Africa, and I have my supervisors intermittently prompting me to get going. So I was so disciplined with my timetables as well. And then I said to myself, especially when I come to South Africa, I have no social activities. When I come there, the maximum I do is to interact with family, with friends via WhatsApp, once in a while video calls, because again, I'm looking to the end of the tunnel. I want to see the light. I'm not going back home with any darkness. And then it is important for all of us to understand that the moment you enroll in a postgrad degree, you become a candidate. You need to become humble. You need to have respect for all. You have people who have gone through this journey. They know how it is done. If you come in with pride, you are going to lose it all. I encountered, she is now a friend. I encountered the student who told me has been there for 4 years and still not finding the way. Later, I had the feedback from people that she is rude. She doesn't talk to people well. She speaks to her supervisor as if she is on top of it. And then I said to myself, with this behavior, I'm sure you won't get anywhere. But eventually, she became an independent coder for my codes, the generating the codes, and then I used that opportunity to let her understand how some of these behaviors can heavily impact our progress in life. So I will encourage us all that be humble, be ready to listen, be ready to take directions your supervisors are going to give you, because they know how it's done, they know how you can survive through this. If you speak to Prof. Ali, sometimes I look to him, I'm like, I can see I'm older than him, but I gave him all the respect he deserves, because he has gone through it, and he is the only one that can help me survive and become successful at the end of it all. I respected him to the highest degree, because the fact that he has gone through this journey, he has gone through all my challenges and he's made it through, I was very humble. And I encourage you all to wear this humility garment, and you'll be shocked at where you get to at the end of it all. And then also I build a happy and a healthy relationship with lecturers, with supervisors, and with colleagues as well. I had colleagues from also other departments, because I was exploring how in future I can look at interdisciplinary approaches as well. And then you can see the picture by the side, that was my friends from the Andes group. We had group discussions a lot, and it was very helpful. And like I said to you, because I encountered the accent barrier or accent challenges, so this is what I did. You can see amongst my friends there is an Indian friend. I have a South African friend in there, South Africans in there. I mean, as in Black South Africans in there. I also had a white South African in there. I don't know the exact as in the ethnic, whether Africans or whatever, but I know she's white. I have the Black, I have the Indian, and then what else? Yes, and then I also had an international student there from Zimbabwe. So at this point, anytime they use any word, I ask the question, so what word exactly are you talking about? Sometimes they will even write. They took me through the baby steps to settle in well in South Africa, and especially in Nelson Mandela. So they will write the words from now. I'm like, oh, okay, so henceforth, if a Black says this, if a white says this, if an Indian uses this word, it means this is what they are referring to. Wow. So that is how I also got to learn. So I made friends from all the ethnic groups. And then also, I had frequent contact when it comes to lecturers at the department to make inquiries, ask for questions. I asked questions a lot via emails, and then also in person, I asked questions a lot, and that is how I was able to survive. And then I made use of the facilities that were available for me there. For all of us, you can always access. So I made use of the facilities, libraries. I was always going, if there are opportunities for workshops, here I am, you find Sandra there. And then also I made inquiries from the department and from the international office because I always want to be on the same page with the school. And then like I mentioned earlier on, I frequently will visit my emails to see what is happening. Are there scholarships I can apply? Are there workshop opportunities or seminars? And then I attended workshops frequently. And then I speak to my supervisor. I make inquiries from the RCD. I remember when I was going for the PhD, I said to myself, how do I survive? How do I even convince my husband, convince the family that I need financial support again because they know I'm only coming back home with masters. Now I need to go and communicate this. I remember clearly I went to share this with Imtiaz, and Imtiaz was so open-minded about what I shared. He was so welcoming. He walked me through to understand how it works there and how to even make it better as I move on. And he was the one that helped me to apply to the university funds. And here I got it, and it helped me to pay my fee. So from master's level through to PhD, I paid nothing. And then there is what we call the peer scrutiny. After collecting my data, I had about 2 independent coders as a result of the help I had from my supervisors. They linked me up with masters and PhD students who I will read their works. They will also read mine, and then they bring fresh perspectives for me to know how I'm progressing with the work. And like I mentioned to you, sometimes you need to make friends from other departments. I had a friend from the medical side, and then for her, what she did was she had access to my write-up. She read, and then she could ask questions, and it made me understand that, oh, if I present this to my supervisor, there's the feedback I'm going to get, because your work should be such that whoever reads it out there should be able to understand. If not to the level of a psychologist, at least to the level of a layperson. The person should be able to grasp the journey that you are trying to take them through. And then it's essential to also have what we call the external eye. Besides my supervisor, especially the PhD supervisor, I had a content editor. As a result of the regular sessions I had with in the workshops, I contacted one of the facilitators who currently I'm working closely with. So it's been from 2016 till now. I contacted her, and then I made her become my content editor. So this is it. Before I submit my chapter 1, 2, or 3 to my supervisor, someone had gone through it, giving me comprehensive feedback. I've worked through it, cleaned up all the mess before presenting to my supervisor. That's my main supervisor. And this is how come I was able to do this within 2 years. So I give my supervisor the work, and there is not much cleaning up in terms of grammatical errors to do. So he was bringing more of the essential content I was missing in there. So having that external eye was very helpful for me. And then it's important to note that I engage more in self-care, especially when the writer's block comes in. I'll close my laptop, I'll lock my door, I'll leave my phone in the room. I usually don't go to town with my phone or walk around with my phone because of what I heard during the orientation times and all others I read via the communique. So I leave my phone, I just walk. I can walk to the beach. I was there at Summerstrand. I can just walk to the beach, admire nature, become refreshing and come back. Or sometimes I can just pick a car to town, go to do window shopping, and then I'll not buy anything. I'll just come back home because it brings that freshness in mind. It brings that freshness in me as a person. And then also, mostly I'll do video calls. I'll chat with friends, and then yeah, it sort of relieves me of the stress, especially when I begin to work. And anytime I come back, I freshen up. I'm so ready for a new chapter in terms of writing. Now, what opportunities have I gleaned in terms of joining Nelson Mandela University? I recall the time I was completing my master's degree somewhere. I think I submitted the thesis somewhere in June, and I was supposed to leave South Africa 18 June. So proud to this, let me keep it this way, proud to the submission of the documents. I was home somewhere 2015 October, and I had to meet my supervisor somewhere February 2016. So I said to myself, being home from 2016, 15 October to 2016 February is quite some time. Why don't I just volunteer in any institution, just support them, because at least NMU has empowered me, they've equipped me with skills to do some form of counseling, especially when I joined Translate Paper. So at least let me just render the support so that I don't also lose those skills. So I joined this renowned institution called Tema International School here in Ghana. And then I just offered the service for free because I've learned to sometimes volunteer, do things for free. So I did it for free. And then I left them in February to come and meet with my supervisor to continue with my master's write-ups. So when I was about submitting my work 18th, what's called June, I received this email on my left-hand side. I don't know how it appears your side, from the Deputy General Manager of this institution telling me that they are happy to work with me and they've welcomed me into the family. So the news here is that I returned home 18th June, and job opportunity was so ready for me. When I came in, they didn't even interview me because they've already seen my skills. I've worked with them for a few months, 4 months, and they know who I am, what I can do. So they offered me the job. I was well paid. And that is where I've been working from 2016 till today. And again, I give credit to NMU because of the opportunity, because of the knowledge they inculcated in me. And then besides this local job opportunity, I'm happy to announce to you that I've also now received a huge job opportunity there in China in one renowned institution. I had it just this first March. And then I was asking myself, so if I'd gone in with any other certificate, would this have worked? This, I feel to a larger extent, it's because I'm going in with NMU certificate. I'm so proud because if I show you my honors as NMU, my master's NMU, and then my PhD. So to a larger degree, I feel that joining this institution has also helped me, taking all the opportunities given me, being humble, being respectful to supervisors, have given me these opportunities I'm currently enjoying, and very soon I'll be relocating with my entire family to China to work with this institution as well. And then currently, besides the opportunity, currently I act as a periodic examiner for South African College of Applied Psychology. They always call on me when, especially master students are done, I examine their thesis, and then it's a wow opportunity because again, I say it's because NMU has trained me to become who I am today, and I'll be able to go that extent to even examine theses of other people. And then also there in 2015, I met one of the deans in one of the faculties who is currently a lecturer in one of the universities in US. Recently, I think he had a journal where he called me to join to also be the West African rep. And again, I give credit to NMU because if I had not come there, I wouldn't have met this individual to link up with me to offer me this opportunity. I also act as role models for people because here when people are going to school outside, for some reason, other people will tell them, I know this lady who schooled outside, the lady can help you as to how she did it. She had family, she had children. I even, in fact, came to Nelson Mandela 2014 with a 10-month-old child to school. It was a tough thing, but I did it. So people always would run to me. People would tell me how to look up to me to, get things done in their lives. And then also, like I mentioned, now I'm collaborating with colleagues across the world. Sometimes I'll have some of the facilitators I join in the workshops to tell me that, oh, this student is doing this person is from Ghana, or this person is in this country. Would you want to collaborate? You can come up with something beautiful when it comes to your research topic because the person is also having similar interests. So this is what is currently happening. And then also, I'm happy to let you know that just listening to my supervisor, just permitting myself to enable him to tweak my topic to help him support me has placed me as the National Vice President for Ghana Psychological Association here in Ghana, because when it comes to anything PTSD, when it comes to anything culture, as to the understanding of culture in terms of PTSD, how to administer intervention from a cultural perspective, I'm the one the nation will run to. And with time, the nation realized that why don't we place this individual at a point where she can also support people to become who they are, to support people so that we can have larger hands when it comes to rendering support to people who have encountered traumatic events or any form of crisis here in Ghana. So this is me during the honors graduation. And then these are my classmates. And then you can see me and my supervisor. I was heavily pregnant here, and then I enjoyed the graduation though. That was, I think, the time I developed the aerophobia well, because I traveled with my 6-month pregnancy to South Africa to graduate. And I'm also happy to tell you, I think we were the last batch to graduate 2019. And I received this from Tembeka. Thank you so much once again. I was just taking a picture with my son. The one I came to South Africa with in 2014 was 10 months old. So when I came for the PhD graduation, I decided to come with her because we did this together. He also needs to be crowned, so I did this for him. And I was taking this picture. I did not know I was randomly also snapped and received this from my colleague, and it was a wow moment for me. I was very excited because that was the time they were doing the virtual graduation, so they needed pictures for such publications on social media, so they used mine, and I was very pleased. And indeed, this is the part where you find out who you are. So this is a personal message from me to you. I would encourage you all to begin today your NMU journey with the end in mind. Look to the end of the tunnel. If the going is getting tough, say to yourself, I came here for this and I need to attain it. People have been through, they've gone through challenges, but they made it work. I can also get it work. Go back to how we made it work. We've shared with you. Go back to asking questions, and at the end of it all, you are going to be successful. Come to NMU, enjoy your stay, and make the very best out of the opportunities available to you. Thank you. If there are questions, I'm on standby.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thompson Hassan. Very interesting and lots of information to share about the journey. I think the last word of advice was also very important, is to look to where you want to be. In other words, it's linking back to the goals that we referred to. If you've got that big goal in mind, picture yourself there, and then look back to what you have to do in order to achieve that. And thank you for also emphasizing all the benefits of having studied and put so much effort into. You've just demonstrated you off to, I'm assuming, Beijing or Shanghai or something like that. When I wish you all the best for that. That's a very courageous decision to make, to completely relocate, completely different culture and so on. But culture is your thing. I think you're ready for that. I just want to allow, we don't have a lot of time, but is there anybody who would like to ask Dr. Thompson Hassan a question? That means that you covered everything. So you're very well prepared. Thank you for that very thorough and informative presentation, and thank you very much for taking the time out to share your journey with us. And you squeezed obviously a long journey in just half an hour, so thank you very much for that. Yeah, and wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Okay, so that takes us, we just, last session before lunch, and the person that we're going to hear today is Mr. Malashe from the Student Wellness, from Mtongeni. He is going to be presenting online. So, Berthlin, if we can. If he's. Okay, awesome. Mr. Malashe, would you like to share your screen? Okay, Great, thank you. Welcome.
No, thank you so much for having me, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bowani Malate. I work as a student counselor at M20 Student Wellness South Campus. Okay, are you able to see the slides?
Yes, thank you. You can make a slideshow if you want.
Slideshow, okay. Okay, thank you so much. Standing in for a colleague. So we are M20 Student Wellness, which is a space that's found in the on the five campuses, which is North, Missionville, Second Ave, South, and George. And we are a team of trained health science professionals. So they are psychologists, there's counseling, clinical, educational, research, and there's registered counselors. And we also house interns, psychology interns. We also train them, and they're in different categories. And so there are supervisors here. There's also administrators. Purpose is to contribute towards student development and success. We believe we're part of one's journey where they come during orientation until they succeed in their journey. Some people do not necessarily get to experience us or seek our services, but there's quite a lot that we see along the way, because there may be issues that they have to deal, personal issues that they have to deal with, and they would then come for counseling and other stuff like your career counseling, because some people come knowing that this is the course that I need to do, but then later change or think they are not suited for that. They want something different. So our vision, conscious of our African context, we strive to be a responsive psychological service for students, enhancing holistic individual well-being and mental health, thereby contributing to student success. And objectives are to enhance the mental health and well-being of our diverse Mandela University student community through group and individual therapy. We do psychoeducation as well, and there are also peer-led support of services or spaces that are provided as well. Also, we do guidance, counseling, or therapy to students in the following areas. So personal adjustment, career development, and psychological problems that require professional attention. I've since I've been here, it's been 3 years. There has been few postgrad students that I've sort of come across. I'm not saying they do not come. However, we've seen a few, and I guess maybe if they are needed psychological services, they then maybe seek those outside of the university. However, we would like to give an opportunity for those who would be interested, and the services are free, and everyone who is a student and anyone can come through. So some of the common challenges that are faced by postgrad students that we sort of have come across, maybe you guys are experiencing things that are different to this. Isolation, having to work on projects, which is something that I also experienced when I was doing my M a few years ago, and losing a few friends along the way because I'm always not available when we have to go out. stress. There's always deadlines that you need to hand in at a given time. Conflicts with supervisor, yeah, that one, that happened. Yeah, not gonna lie. Hopefully you will not have to go through that. Funding issues, building professional relationships as well. Also, I think the speaker before me, she spoke about self-care. So looking after one's mental health, which is key. One needs to take care of themselves because doing research and other things that are needed for you to graduate can really take a toll on one's mental health. Time management. Some people feel there's lack of institutional and even personal support. So unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I've never, there was support throughout. The research office in the 30th floor, those guys work very hard, and the department as well was really supportive. And when there were challenges related to the supervisor not responding and all of that, they sort of tackled that in a short space of time. So I hope you don't have to go through that. But I know there is support here. As long as you go seek that, go speak to people, and people will surely listen and give you as much support as maybe you need. Also anxiety about the future. Sometimes, even though that you studying towards something, sometimes you'd find yourself worried and anxious about what's going to happen. One of the things that I did when I was still also doing my M was I was finished with the coursework, and then was still busy with my research. And what I did, I came to this office and I requested to volunteer as well. And I had the speaker before, she spoke about that. Because I was not confident in my skills, and that opportunity sort of made me to feel like I at least am able to apply what I had been studying in terms of working with students as a counselor. So I think if there is an opportunity to volunteer, please do grab that opportunity, because it can build one's confidence, and then they are able to do the work. And when there were interviews, which was given to different people who applied, I would say I came out best because I knew the work. I was able to answer the questions confidently as well, because I knew what we were doing in the space. So yeah, it sort of lessened or took away the anxiety that was related to the future at that time. So direct services to students, career construction, and employability, psychology of well-being, psychology of learning. So psychology of well-being, areas that we sort of work on. It's mental health awareness, which happens throughout the year. Individual counseling is every day. Also psychoeducational workshops, they also do happen throughout the year. Community interventions, that's working with residences on different topics. And we are trying to keep up with these students, because what we were doing prior COVID, we find that most of the stuff we were talking about are not as relevant. I think the generation now is talking about different things, and they have their lives online. So we need to step up as well and come up with topics that are relevant to what they are needing right now. Also group counseling, we do that, group therapy, and we're busy with that every day. Why is my thing not moving? I'm struggling to move my, okay. Also substance use. We have a new colleague that just joined us, and he's gonna do group interventions that are related to substance use. We were thinking of inviting external providers, but now since this person joined us, we are now gonna start with group interventions that are related to substance use, which is an issue in our campuses. It really is an issue, and it's affecting how some of the students perform, because they're trying to cope and they use substances. So career construction and employability. So there's tier 1 is for students, and tier 2 is for prospective students who want to join the university and they're not sure about the course that they're doing. Our students, some do come, but sometimes they do not meet the requirements of the first choice or even the second choice. And now they come to us to explore what they could maybe go to as a career. And then tier 3 is the community outreach that we do as well. There has not been much since there was COVID, but we now going back that direction. And then the last one is the psychology of learning. So it speaks to the interplay between psychological functioning and learning, which includes cognition, memory, and barriers to learning. So we work mainly with the Universal Accessibility and Disability Services Office for things like concession, where we assess most of the students who find themselves challenged when they have to write exams and they are maybe not able to finish what is expected of them when they write exam or whatever. And we assess to assist them to get concession. And there's a whole lot of other things that we do as well that are related to that. And concentration. And also we work with the success coaches as well to assist students to be able to do their work related to learning. Things like time management and other things that they do in their space. Okay, so we also have we peer helpers. Peer helpers assist us to do some of the work that we are unable to do, maybe on weekends, even during the week, with students throughout the year. We also do have digital engagement. Sorry? Okay. Then we also have a research psychologist who's responsible for the research and development in our space. And then there's also counseling development, which is another tier. All of these tiers are under the big tier of management and administration. One of the other therapeutic activities that we introduced during COVID was the arts expression. This we do during the lunch hour breaks. So it's not counseling, it's not anything. You just go in the space, you sit, you get provided with tools to do your art. And it's part of the self-care activity that we do with anyone and everyone. So after you're done expressing yourself, doing the art, you can share your art with everyone, or you can just, as long as you've gotten yourself an opportunity to do the self-care activity and externalizing whatever is happening using art, happening inside of you using art. Okay, as I said earlier, our services are free of charge, and everything that is discussed in the spaces is confidential. So we offer individual counseling, group counseling, workshops, pamphlets. There are e-pamphlets that are there, and there's digital engagement in social media as well. Due to the number of students, which now sit, I think a bit over 30,000, we do short-term counseling. And so what we do is assessments, brief counseling up to 6 sessions. And after that, if if we can't resolve the issue, we either refer you to group therapy sessions, or if something needs an external service provider, then we do refer you to that service provider, like the hospitals or other psychologists or social workers. And requests are made online, and there's a request form. One can go to do m20.mandela.ac.za. Then we will contact you via your email within 3 working days, and then give you information and give you a first appointment. And it depends on capacity, because sometimes we fully booked for up to 3 weeks. So one is likely to wait 2 to 3 weeks, and for now it's been 2, and it's starting to the capacity is starting to overflow. So we're now entering the 3rd week. So one waits up to 3 weeks. However, while they're waiting, we are referring them to the group sessions, psychoeducational sessions, and we refer them to the e-pamphlets that are on our portal. You can cancel your appointment should you no longer require the service. And very important, an email was sent out to all students on the 13th of March 2023, so titled M20 Student Wellness Counseling Service, explaining thoroughly how one can make an appointment with us. So if one is interested, or they know someone who might be interested, they need to check out their memo on this day. Also, we have same-day emergency slots. So every day there is a slot for emergency, because we know sometimes students would be needing services in that moment because of an emergency situation they're finding themselves. So you don't have to book for that. But if you want to book, then you can as well. They are mostly walk-ins, so a person can go to any of our offices in the different campuses. Okay, this is how you contact us: counseling.mandela.ac.za, and our South campus number is 041 544 2511, and the email is counseling@mandela.ac.za. After hours, because we work during the week from Monday 7:30 to 4:30. So these are some of the after hours numbers. I think I will share these with Tembeka, so she has them in her office. If anyone finds themselves or needing some of these numbers over the weekend, then they could access. Are there any questions? That's all from my side.
Thank you, Bongani. We got a question here.
Yebo.
Hi, Putubongani. Thank you so much for your insightful presentation. It's Yolanda here, and I actually wanted to inquire regarding the Friday sessions of the art sessions. I just forgot the term that you use. Yes. So I was just wondering if perhaps there is a booking system for that, or where are the details for every Friday session sent out?
Okay, so what's happening? We're waiting for, I'm not sure about that office, because there are requirements that we need to meet before we send out any advertisements. So soon we'll be sending out the posters of those. And apparently what we did not meet the standards of the university, because there's specific colors, there's specific font that we need to have. I think it's at the start of the second term, you will see the posters going out. However, if you are on south or north, you can walk just walk in and then get information. But they happen every Friday at 1 o'clock, South Campus. But all the other campuses are starting to do them because we do not have enough space here to do that.
So I'm assuming that when all the challenges have been overcome, then there'll be memos sent out with all the
Yes.
relevant information without having
Yes.
to. Okay, all right, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you for the question.
Sorry, Bongani. In the meantime, so you're saying that somebody can just go across to the actual student counseling department and make a booking?
Yes, South Campus. Yes.
So
South
you
Campus. For
obviously-
now, we are mainly there, but other campuses are starting to also do them. But I'm not sure about their days, because since I'm saying one needs to go there, find out which day they're using for the art expression session.
And it's not a drop in. You've got to book in advance.
Yes, because of the space and the number that usually sort of comes to the sessions. We then need for people to book so that we prepare the space and the material that we use for that number.
Thank you. I just want to see if there's anybody else. Anybody else have a question for Bongani? Thank you very much. I think, yeah, you made a point earlier on that, a lot of postgrads perhaps don't access the services as much as undergrads. So it's nice for you to just make it known to our postgrads that there is this service and it is available and free. And should they may not need it right now, but maybe in the future, if they're needed somewhere to debrief, you are a place where they can do that for free. And it is a service to our students. So thank you. Thanks very much for your time, Bongani. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
one. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.